Hello everyone, welcome to the 2020 Total Force Integrated Annual Suicide Prevention Workshop. I am Master Sergeant Justin Tite, and I will be your narrator for this lesson. The Air Force 2020 Integrated Suicide Prevention Training is a requirement for all uniformed airmen and Air Force civilian personnel. Although suicide prevention training is best facilitated as a face-to-face and small group educational discussion, it is being provided as an online training tool due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 42nd Air Base Wing Commander has approved this suicide prevention training video to ensure physical distancing and the safety of our personnel. Integrity is the key to the success of this video training, and we hope you will review the material within this workshop in its entirety. We recognize some of you may have had a personal experience with suicide and may find the topic difficult to discuss. As difficult as this training is, it is a valuable part of the Air Force resilience. For those who need support, we provided a list of resources upon the conclusion of this workshop. Upon completion of this suicide prevention training, participants are going to be able to have a general understanding of the United States Air Force Suicide Prevention Program, know some of the many signs when someone is stressed, in distress, or crisis. They'll be able to list some different coping strategies that they can use, be able to recognize early and immediate suicide warning signs, define and understand what ACE means, verbalize knowledge of what the term SLOW stands for, and be familiar with key helping agencies. To get started, let's take a look at this brief video.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good. But I have a story, and I don't know where to start.
I'm good. But I feel alone in a crowd.
I'm good. But nobody understands.
I'm good, but the past keeps coming back.
But I can't get out of bed.
And I can't sleep.
I'm good, but I feel overwhelmed.
I'm good, but I don't feel safe.
But I don't even know who I am anymore.
But I still have nightmares. But I don't need any help.
I'm good, but I don't feel anything anymore.
I'm good, but I can't live like this anymore.
I'm really not so good. But are you ready to listen?
For such a short video, that is a pretty powerful message. How many of you at some point in time have said, "I'm good," but really you weren't so good? In 2019, the United States Air Force saw an increase in the rate of suicide deaths in comparison to 2018. The Air Force understands that a standalone training will not prevent all suicides, but it is an important part of the Air Force comprehensive plan to reduce the number of airmen dying by suicide. Data is now showing as of 31 March 2020, the number of airmen who have died by suicide has declined, but one suicide is too many. What are some of the reasons our airmen want to die? People who attempt or die by suicide don't always want to die. In most cases, the pain of living outweighs the thought of dying. When risk factors such as relationship problems, financial issues, legal, administrative action, or work stress become overwhelming and there seems to be no relief, some people lose hope. Stress is a normal part of our lives. It is your brain and body's response to some type of demand. Healthy stress is considered short-term stress, and it's manageable and something we all experience from time to time. For example, in the first couple of weeks when many of us had to work from home, the VPN was overwhelmed and many of us had a hard time trying to get our work done because we couldn't have access to the systems we needed in order to do our job. On top of that, some individuals took on the additional role of homeschool teacher to their children. Adjusting our schedules to accommodate all of that change can be stressful and even seem overwhelming at times. Eventually, many of us found a balance between staying up to date with everything at work and keeping our children engaged with their new school environment. Adapting to these changes alleviated some of the stress many of us had. Similarly, to the impact of COVID-19, which is a scary and stressful time for people trying to stay healthy, feed their families, and keep businesses from closing, some people are struggling to cope with the situation, while others have found resilience leading to innovative thinking and adjustments in routines to make the best of a potentially stressful situation. Occasionally, stressors overwhelm our coping abilities and start to result in unhealthy symptoms or distress. Now, recognizing distress in ourselves and others is key to preventing negative outcomes. Common signs of distress may include Mood changes, such as depression or anxiety, irritability, agitation or anger, difficulties with sleep, withdrawing from family, friends, or even coworkers, lack of interest in activities that were previously enjoyed, impacting judgment, loss of relationships that are important to you, and extreme negativity. Now, what do you think resilience looks like? One example of resilience is Miss Kristen Christie, 2018 Key Spouse of the Year. Now, Miss Christie experienced a life of trauma, and although not easy, she was able to remain resilient and hopeful through each event. At the young age of 15, Kristen was a competitive golfer and tennis player until she began to have migraine headaches and eventually experienced a stroke. She had to go through extensive therapy to learn how to not only talk again, but also walk. She explains that she used her athleticism and competitiveness to help her fight back and recover. Sadly, other events in her life challenged her resilience and hopefulness as well. When married and a mother of 2 young boys, Kristen Christie was at her home in Colorado Springs when she heard the doorbell ring. On her porch stood the chaplain and the coroner. That's when she received the news. Her husband of 17 years, Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Don Christie, had taken his life in Black Forest Regional Park. For years to come, Kristen, Ryan, and Ben mourned their loss. Kristen's oldest son, Ryan, struggled with his father's death. At 16, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and began self-medicating with meth and heroin, which caused added stress within the family. He eventually got clean from drugs and started his own business. But then one day, he just came up missing and has not been heard since September 20th, 2015. Then, 8 years after his father's death, her youngest son, Ben, on his 20th birthday, called his mom from college and left a tear-filled message. Let's watch a short video of Kristen Christie sharing a small piece of this moment and how she has found hope and resilience from the trauma she has endured. Before we begin, we want to warn viewers that this video contains what may be a disturbing audio from her son Ben, who called his mother from college crying as he shared how much he missed his father.
So suicide is not a very palatable subject. It's become an epidemic. What we don't hear much about is what's the effect afterwards. What's the destruction and the aftermath of a suicide. In a few weeks, it'll be 10 years since Don's suicide. And the choice that he made has caused rippling effects that he had no idea would be caused. Our older son turns 25 in May. He's been missing since September 20th of 2015. Our youngest son is a junior in aerospace engineering in college and doing very well now, but it wasn't always. We had some rough roads.
I miss Dad. I miss Dad so much. I can't live without him. I can't. I need him right now. I need him so much.
They will live with the choice that he made for the rest of their lives. They say the average person has 44 people within their sphere of influence. If you help one person, it's helping 45. And it's exponential from there. Let's use the beautifully raw experiences from our lives that we've gotten through to help those conquer those challenges. To remove that veil of darkness, those thoughts from their head that life would be better without them. It won't. I guarantee you, it won't.
key concepts of prevention we apply to interpersonal violence, like sexual assault and domestic and intimate partner violence, we can also apply to suicide prevention. This includes identifying suicide warning signs, recognizing our barriers, applying the 3Ds, and the power of proactive. Suicide warning signs involve early and immediate warning signs. In the next couple of slides, we are going to break down the differences. To recognize warning signs, offer support, and check in regularly until the issue is resolved is the primary message. What is the difference between early and immediate suicide warning signs? Early warning signs. Early warning signs are behaviors that are demonstrated that are concerning, but the individual is not immediately suicidal or wanting to die. However, they may have periodic thoughts of suicide or have suicidal ideations. Let's look at the list of examples. Now, keep in mind when looking at the list, the more risk factors a person is experiencing, the more probable they may become suicidal if their issues aren't resolved or if they don't find any relief. Person needs support to relieve stress and prevent distress, not immediately suicidal. However, the increase of substance abuse or misuse, talking about having no sense of purpose, connection, or feeling like a burden on others, they seem anxious, agitated, or dramatic mood changes. If they're unable to sleep, sleeping all the time, or constantly appear tired, feeling trapped, or expressing the feeling of hopelessness, withdrawing from friends, family, or activities they once enjoyed, having uncontrolled anger or rage, or acting reckless, engaging in risky activities when that's not their normal. Immediate warning signs. The person is in distress or crisis and is at serious risk of suicide. Do not leave them alone. When a person is demonstrating immediate warning signs of wanting to die, then ACE is the only method to provide intervention. We will cover ACE thoroughly later in the presentation. However, let's look at some of the immediate warning signs for suicide. Now again, it is important to keep in mind the more risk factors and limited protective factors, the more they are at risk for death by suicide. This includes expressing impulsive or aggressive tendencies. Sometimes they can't communicate clearly or they experience loss of contact with reality. Threatening to hurt or kill him or herself or engaging in self-injury. Talking about or looking for ways to hurt him or herself. Posting on social media, writing about death, dying, or suicide. Any unexpected communication that sounds like a goodbye. Mental health disorders, particularly clinical depression, previous suicide attempt, or suicide attempts. Each of us needs balance in life and know how to achieve wellness or whole health. To do this, we need to know what is causing us stress. Chronic stress can wreak havoc on your emotional equilibrium as well as your physical health. It narrows your ability to think clearly, function effectively, and enjoy life. It may seem like there's nothing you can do about stress. The bills won't stop coming, there will never be more hours in the day, and your work and family responsibilities are always going to be demanding. Some people are able to balance life stressors without impacting their wellness, while others find chronic stress overwhelming and debilitating. Effective stress management helps you break the hold stress has on your life so you can be happier, healthier, and more productive. The ultimate goal is a balanced life with time for work, relationships, relaxation, and fun, and the resilience to hold up under pressure and meet challenges head on. Kristen Christie used many coping tools to help her through each traumatic event. But what if someone can no longer cope with life's stress and become suicidal? ACE. Ask, Care, Escort. When symptoms of distress are overwhelming, the individual may have thoughts of death, self-harm, or suicide. When you are concerned in these cases, you should ask. Ask them directly if they are thinking about harming themselves or have thoughts of suicide. Don't avoid the question and be direct, but show them that you care. Care. Show them you care by giving them your full attention and try to avoid distractions. Be an active listener and paraphrase or clarify what they say. Communicate empathy and not be judgmental or minimize how they are feeling. Escort. Never leave them alone. Get them to help and ensure your safety comes first. In some cases, it is best to call 911 or security forces to ensure your safety and theirs. Always follow up in the days and weeks that may follow an incident. Slow. Safes, locks, outside the home. Research indicates a quarter of suicides occur within the first 5 minutes of an individual's decision to take his or her life. In the Air Force, personally owned firearms are used in 70% of suicide attempts and 90% lethal. Safely stored firearms, or firearms safely removed from the home and stored securely, creates a barrier and assists in the prevention of suicide attempts using firearms. Suicide has been the #1 killer of our airmen for the last 5 years. As of 31 March 2020, airmen dying by suicide is declining, but again, one death is too many. To implement SLOW is one of the many steps we can take to keep us safe until the crisis is resolved. If you need a gun lock or know someone that needs a gun lock, please contact a VPI or Ms. Cuppernell, who is a distributor of gun locks, on our installation. Although we already looked briefly at the helping agencies when we discussed sexual assault and domestic and intimate partner violence, it is important that we revisit your options and cover them more thoroughly. If you or someone you know is struggling or having suicidal ideations, help is available. Contact Mental Health, BHOP, chaplains, Military OneSource, Military and Veterans Crisis Hotline, or call 911 or security forces. If you are a commander or supervisor, you have many resources available to you as well. You can utilize Air Force Resilience Online, Wingman Online, and this provides fact sheets about stress, deployments, relationships, and training videos. This also includes checklists for airmen who are under investigation, airmen who attempted suicide, or airmen who have died by suicide. Don't let the stigma keep you from seeking help. Less than 1% of airmen who seek help have any type of impact on their career. The earlier you seek help, the less likely your situation will become a crisis or impact your career. But more importantly, the less likely you will have thoughts of wanting to hurt yourself. Suicide prevention is complex and involves efforts at every level of our community. Having tough conversations about suicide is not easy, but they are necessary. Some of you may have had these thoughts yourself. If you or one of your airmen demonstrates signs of distress, consider their access to lethal means, including firearms, medications, or other means that can be fatal. Please take the appropriate safety steps. Check in with your airmen regularly and normalize help seeking as a sign of strength. Consider talking to them about self-care or share a positive experience you have had with one of the many helping agencies. Your connection to your airmen is key to suicide prevention and keeping our airmen safe.